Hello, welcome to Furious Driving, and today we're looking at one of the most popular but yet most forgotten coupes of the late 90s into the early noughties. Yes, it's the Renault Megane Coupe. This thing ran from 1996 until 2003 when it was replaced by that weird bustle-back thing with the whole advert about shaking your ass. You probably remember that more than you remember this car. The first of the Megane range was revealed in 1995, and the styling was based around Patrick Lecourmain's bird beak Megane styled concept car from 1988, so the whole look of the thing goes back a very long way indeed, and it's underpinned by Renault 19 chassis design from way back when. And that styling influence was first seen on the Laguna when it appeared. Now the front end got a very mild facelift in 1999, which just changed things up just a little bit, freshened things, didn't really change a lot. Renault will say that it looks more aggressive now, but honestly it still just looks like a very friendly French face with a little moustache going on. If Poirot wasn't Belgian but French, this could be Poirot in car form. Now these 2-litre cars are relatively rare these days. They weren't the biggest sellers in the range because a lot of the people who wanted these cars wanted the looks but without the performance or the cheaper insurance costs. So when the car first came out, there was a 1.6, a 2-litre and the 2-litre 16 valve. That 2-litre 16 valve was a tweaked version of the Renault Clio Williams motor, making it a real hot hatch screamer of a car. When the car was facelifted in 1999, it got 3 new engines, a 1.4 and a 1.6, and what we have here is a 2-litre IDE, which is a new direct injection motor. Apparently the first of a European manufacturer to use direct petrol injection, I read somewhere. This was still very powerful. It's still 140 horsepower, and that meant it would do 132 miles an hour and 0 to 60 in 8.6, which is virtually identical performance specs to the Clio Williams powered version. Okay, right, so looking around this interior, what really strikes you and actually kind of surprised me a little bit, I'm going to have to say, I guess I was a little bit Renault quality biased in a negative kind of way. I wasn't expecting great things from it, but it is really, really good. It all feels massively well screwed together. The seats are comfortable, the dash feels solid. I'm kind of blown away with it actually. We've got, starting right in front of us, these really kind of cool sporty white dials. It's a 4-dial setup. The rev counter on the left hand side, red lining up at 6,000 RPM, fuel, water in the center, all kind of interconnected into one big, like a pair of binoculars. You're staring down the binoculars of speed at the dials, which go up to 160 miles an hour. That cannot be anywhere close to accurate. We've got all our warning light banks on the center and on the left and right, so indicators, fuel, the kind of main stuff are in the middle bit, and then sub dials like airbag warning, tyre deflation, fog lights on the left. On the right hand side, other stuff like your heated seats are on, and the dipped and main beam lights, that kind of stuff, all around there. And this is all in one giant contained binnacle. We've got a second half a semicircular ellipsoid for the trip computer clock area here, up on the dashboard just there, and the warning light for your doors open, seatbelt off. This is a micro T-shaft just here. It's a ridge in there, so stuff in there will not fall out under heavy acceleration, so you can put your Mars bars and so forth up in there. On top of this, we've got a very big T-shelf of a dash top. It does slope away to the passenger side, so anything spilt will fall on the passenger's knees and slopes towards the windscreen, so it's not ideal for tall things, but you can put a sandwich up here when you're driving quite happily. In the centre of the dashboard, we've got 2 very, very big air vents. It's all bulging out like a convex bubble of dash coming towards you. The radio is moulded into that convex bubble as well. Very, very French in design. The 4-way controls for the stuff left and right, and 6 stations and a radio cassette with auto reverse naturally and Dolby. I mean, seriously, where would you be without Dolby around the turn of the century? You're nowhere, that's where you'd be. And apparently the stereo was actually better in the facelift cars over the original ones. Central locking and hazard lights, and a curiously shaped bubble of a switch just here on the right hand side of the radio, and then heating and ventilation and air conditioning down here. Air conditioning is always good. Heated rear screen, I'm guessing maybe heated front screen or something else was an option just here, I don't know what. A big old slide out, oh no, not slide out, yeah, kind of slide out. Ashtray for your sweetie wrappers, 12 volt place for your 12 voltery, requirements, and a big cubby down there, which is just small enough not to take a modern iPhone. It's very deep though, very deep sided. You could happily fill that with some gazpacho soup and go cornering quite hard without getting it on your trouser leg. Now behind that we've got a 5-speed manual gear shift, which is a good thing because who wants an automatic in a sports coupe? That would be defeating the object. The rear of this whole area comes to a nice gently tapered point, and the, I'm guessing fake leather, I don't know, it could be real leather, I'm not quite sure actually. Gator feels good, looks good, all very dark grey. It's very monochromatic. It's only one shade of just off black grey for absolutely everything in here, apart from that panel just there and the dials just there. Apart from that one shade of dark grey, it's, yeah, 5-speed manual gearbox. We'll find out what that's like on the road in a minute. Reverse, you have to lift the collar, and to indicate that, there's a little minus under there because minus obviously means lift to get it into reverse. Looking across to the dashboard, on the left we've got an airbag for the passenger. We've got a decent sized glove box, lots of space in there, secondary T-shelf, space for Twix bars, and this little badge just here showing we're in a Privilege edition, which I guess is high spec. Then we've got the door cards. They are a, let's look at the driver's one, I can reach that more easily and open it because it's awfully warm. These door cards are like a rubbery elephant hide kind of material, kind of a vinyl-y plastic, bit of a rubber feel. They're very solid feelings, not any, well, only a tiny bit of rattle in there. It's 20 odd years old though. That feels good. Got a leather insert just here where your elbow sits, and more soft padding and leather just there. Big grippy plastic handle, and I'm going to say, yeah, some kind of metal door handle just there, so it's not going to break off. Electric windows for both the front windows. The rear ones are those little poppy out ones in the back. And a DQB speaker down here. The style is all very cool, very French, very chic. So you've got little things like, there's little touches like, we know we've got to put air vents on the end of the dial, but those big square ones won't quite fit, so we'll put an elongated egg shape. But the left and the right of the dashboard, they aren't quite the same, so we'll have it vertical on the driver's side and horizontal on the passenger side. It's style, it's French, we don't care. So it's a very Gallic attitude to doing this kind of thing. On the steering wheel, which is again kind of convex, big bulgy thing for the airbag, and the horn test. Yeah, it's a very French horn. We've got that, that's kind of a rubbery plastic, kind of quite hard feeling thing. On the left hand side, indicators and lights very traditionally. On the right hand side, your wipers are kind of hidden behind the radio and audio controls, which is typically a Renault thing from, I guess, most of this millennium actually. I'm not sure if they still do this or not, but certainly up until very recently. They were putting this big block somewhere around the steering wheel. I think as often as down here actually on later cars, because that's kind of in the way of the wipers. And moving back, we've got these seats which are actually quite high sitting. They are very heavily bolstered, so you're trapped and contained in them for heavy cornering. They're nice leather, soft leather with a very kind of hard stuffing, but not as hard as a Vauxhall, so just a nice mix of firm but not too firm. Headrest obviously, nice kind of split design, nice bit of attractive seating. One thing I didn't notice until now, actually these are electric rear windows. There are pop-out side windows, but there are electric pop-out side windows. So that's a very cool thing. I don't think you got this on the smaller engine versions of the car. Finally in the front we've got the electric sunroof behind this panel here. Oh, so it's a light. That's also a light. Behind this panel here we have got an electric tilt slide glass sunroof. And a variety of lights. In the back it is basically a very small coupe, so it's really tight for an adult to get their legs in there. The seats are massively buckety, so you're just dropping right into them. And in the centre, rather than having a fifth seat, it's only a four-seater obviously, we've got a plastic tray for putting stuff and assortments in. It looks like that seat is a 60-40 split. So you can drop that and load big stuff, making your little coupe a practical, useful car. There's also, for practical, useful stuff, little side pockets for your rear passengers on both sides to stow phones and gubbins. Now climbing into the boot, we have got underneath the third stop high-level brake light an actual button, which is always a nice thing to have. And it's really a very tight opening, very tight aperture. This is like, I don't know, the little letterbox you get on the back of a Renault Modus when you don't open the full hatch. But once you're inside there, it goes back a wee way. And you've got folding seats, as I mentioned. Up here on the left-hand side, you have got this CD player changer. But how are you going to access it? What you do, you pull the handle here, and down it flips. So you've got access to your Alpine compact disc CD changer. Alpine being, of course, a very, very fine brand of CD changery machines. So that's quite a cool and clever idea for tucking that out of the way. Damped on little hydraulic things as well. There is, under the floor, space saver spare tyre, and that's kind of your lot. Little Renault emergency pack there. It's not a huge boot by any means, and getting in and out, if you were going to be kidnapped in this thing, it would be really claustrophobic, so I'd heartily recommend not being kidnapped in a Megane Coupe if you can avoid it. Right, now sorry about the odd audio from here on in. There was a problem with the sound recording during the shoot. Now, so heading out onto the road from Stone Cold Classics, where this car is currently for sale, so do check out the website in the link below. Now, immediately you appreciate the good driving position, and the supportive seats are really good. The seats are quite high, but the controls are really well placed and very easy to reach. Now, after the 2001 facelift, the trim levels became Expression, Dynamique, and the range topping Privilege, which we have here. So Privilege with a 2 litre is as good as things got. And this 2 litre engine does feel good. It's got a nice gruff engine note, which unfortunately you can't hear, and it pulls really well. Now, it may look like the hatchback, but this is its own 2-door shell, and heading into the twisty bits, you can really feel the body is much stiffer with very little flex or scuttle shake. I should probably use words like torsional rigidity around now, but I'm not going to. But it does handle noticeably better than the 3 or the 5-door versions, and the ride is typically French in that it has hints of the delightful floating quality you'd expect from a car from this nation. But the softness has an edge, and in the style of hot hatches from 20 years ago, it rolls through the corners but still has good grip with precise turning and nice predictable handling, which inspires a lot of confidence when you're pushing through a bend. It's a rewarding and proper driver's car with good feedback to that chunky steering wheel, and the gear change is firm with nice short throw of the lever. Everything about it just makes you want to keep on driving further and further. In fact, I could have happily spent the entire day just driving this car in circles up and down fun country lanes. Unfortunately, I did have to take it back. Now, at the time, this was a massive seller with very broad appeal. At the lower end of the range, buyers could have a cheap, easy to run, easy to insure, but cool looking coupe, and at the top, it was something to rival the best hot hatches across all makers. So it could sort of rival everything from a Ford Puma to a Toyota Celica. Well, maybe not in handling terms of those two, but certainly in terms of kit, space and style. And in terms of handling, it was comparable with everything in between. Now, the 0 to 60 time from the IDE engine is as explosive as you'd expect from most sports cars of the era. The 8.6 seconds is similar to pretty much all 2 litre rivals. This particular car's got less than 50,000 miles on it and appears to have been very well looked after, so this is a great example to compare it to of how it would have been when it was new. The cabin feels solid and doesn't creak. The materials feel pretty decent as well. Maybe not up to Golf Mark III standards of build quality, but surprisingly not far off. And the way it drives though is so much better and far more entertaining and rewarding than the VW. Now, this generation of Megane was a huge success for Renault. There were nearly 100 variations including the Scenics, and it has got a good reputation for quality over the years. And really only the automatic gearbox and central locking are the regular recurring problems people talk about. And it was one of the first Renaults sold on its safety credentials as well. Now, with the camera turned off, I'm going to go and drive this thing a little bit further. Thanks for watching today's review, and join me again next time, and hopefully the microphone will be working.